welcome to another episode of Wise Counsel Weekly here at Athenian Group. My name is Tanyan Farley, our SVP of Client Solutions, and I have Mr. Tim Woods with me today. Tim, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you, Tanyan?
Good, man. It's nice to be moving into springtime here in the United States, and wishing well to all of our clients and listeners out there.
Absolutely.
A lot going on in the world today. Obviously, a lot in business, a lot in policy to talk about. Tim, I know we've had a lot of folks with our client base and otherwise returning to office, and we've seen it at the federal level, we've seen it in higher ed, we've seen it at the local and state level. What are some trends or things you're seeing there that folks are doing to help their people transition back?
Sure. I mean, it's a great change in the workplace that's happening right now, as you can imagine, with us focusing so heavily on remote work for so long, post-pandemic, and we're seeing the pendulum swing back in the other direction and really wanting to get folks back integrated into the office environment. Of course, that comes with a number of challenges, but just to highlight a few is just making sure, number one, logistically, that there are a number of seats that are available, because as you can imagine, teams grew over time while people were working remote. And now you have to figure out how to integrate folks who have been fully remote, some of them for their whole career, back into a physical space. So there's a space challenge, there's infrastructure changes, things that are going along with just getting folks connected back and integrated into the office space. So there's some true logistics in place there to just make sure that you're gradually, I think, bringing folks back into the environment in a way that also retains them and helps them to move forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think one of the things that we've seen with our clients over the last couple of months and really going forward here is the return of the infamous meeting after the meeting, right? And I think building that into schedules, as funny as that sounds, is going to be important going forward, because you're no longer going Zoom to Teams to WebEx to GoToMeeting to Blue Jeans in a row, right? Now you're really physically moving between spaces and otherwise. So I think that's going to be interesting. It'll create a lot of fostering of culture and communication, innovation. But I think it is something just from a logistics perspective that we'll need to adjust to as we go back.
Absolutely. Our ways of working are shifting as we speak.
Yeah. So speaking of ways of work, our guest today on the Wise Counsel Weekly podcast is Mr. DJ Harrell from the city of Fort Worth. DJ is the Development Services and Permitting Director for the city, leading the 12th largest city in the country through a barrage of transformation otherwise to really better deliver for the community, better support growth for the community, and ultimately create a sustainable and transformative environment for folks to build and grow within the city. So DJ, we're excited to have you on today. How you doing?
I'm fine, Tanyan. How are you?
Good, man. I'm good. It's good to see you. DJ's in his new office at their new city hall in city of Fort Worth. A key part of that project was the development, the design, the build out, the rollout, the operations of a new one-stop shop permitting center for the city of Fort Worth, which DJ, correct me if I'm wrong, fastest growing city in the nation.
That's right.
So what that means and what that translates is they're very busy, right? They need all the help that they can to better streamline that experience and otherwise. So, DJ, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and the city of Fort Worth?
Okay. My name is DJ Harrell, and I'm Director of Development Services for the city of Fort Worth. I've been with Fort Worth for about 15 years. Before that, I was an independent real estate broker. I have undergrad and grad degree from Southern University A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I come from a long line of public servants. We share a strong belief that government's purpose is to serve the needs of the community. And that's what I'm here to do in the city of Fort Worth.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. Obviously at Athenian, we're big fans, big supporters of local municipalities and the work they do for the community, the impact they make, and really helping to reveal to the public and otherwise just the struggle that it is to really get things moving in a positive direction and all the hoops you have to jump through to really create a positive customer experience. So we really appreciate folks like yourself, what you're doing from your side of the table to make it happen. In the world we live in today, from your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges that developers, builders, et cetera, are facing in permitting development processes with local municipalities?
Well, let's be honest. Development is complicated, right? Depending on the property and the development needs, there can be many development professionals and even more regulatory departments to deal with to try to get things happening. So the biggest challenge I would say is trying to coordinate from the multiple development professionals to the multiple regulatory agencies to ensure that projects continue to move forward in a streamlined fashion.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And, I think you highlight an excellent point that I think a lot of folks maybe don't think through when they're going through the development process, whether it's residential, commercial, mixed use, et cetera, is that oftentimes there's more than one entity involved in that review process, right? It's not just the city of Fort Worth. It could be the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It could be the county. It could be special water districts or otherwise. So, a very key point to look at. What are some things, DJ, from your side of the house that a developer or a business coming to try and work with the municipality can do in preparation to have the best experience working with the group?
Well, because of all the moving parts that I just described, I think success becomes easier if developers and builders are actively involved with each interaction with the city. They need to understand how each of the pieces fit together with regard to regulation, approvals, and process steps. And I think that sets projects up for success from the beginning. All in all, cities are here to help facilitate the development and construction across the city. So we need to make sure that we're communicative with our development partners to ensure that we all have development happening for the attached.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I really appreciate you bringing to the fact that it is a team effort, right? I think a lot of times folks view this as almost a me versus them type scenario when it's going through the permitting cycle or development cycle. But to your point, it's complex, right? And that's to keep people safe. That's to grow cities efficiently. That's to make it a wonderful experience for the community. Over the last really 4 years, 4.5 years coming out of the pandemic, there's been so many changes to municipal development and regional development. What are some things that organizations like yours have done that you think have really helped to A, navigate this new world, but B, really empower that customer experience?
Well, I would say, Tanyan, that the most impactful change is, cities have really taken a long look and changed our view about bureaucracy. Most cities, especially the city of Fort Worth, one of our major pillars in our focuses is continuous improvement in the development process. Just like any other area, development demands and possibilities are ever changing. Being open to further seeking out ways to, be sure that we're meeting developers, our neighbors, our constituents where they are is very important. Instead of just sticking to the traditional government bureaucracy standards.
Yeah, and I think that's a great a key focus is continuing to evolve on that, and understanding that you have regulatory changes that come not only from the state or the county or federal, but also working with your local municipal leaders, both elected and non, to help drive policies that are more efficient for delivery of these programs, but also support the community and the groups that are working through that. How is your organization specifically working with groups like the Development Advisory Committee and some of the other groups that are in and around the city of Fort Worth to stay ahead of the regulatory changes and talk through how you can work together to create a better future?
Well, I think it's about being proactive, right? We got to continue to see cutting edge and with an eye for maintaining safety and orderly development, obviously, but we also have to push the envelope toward technology, convenience, and streamlined processes. And groups like the Development Advisory Committee, as well as the Real Estate Council of Fort Worth, they help us do that, to ensure that, we're hearing from the voice of customer and we understand what our decisions inside of City Hall mean for our community and our development partners.
I think excellent point. And the development partners are so critical. One of the things that you and I have chatted about before is just where the municipal development world is going, over the next 5 to 10 years. What are the challenges that you're going to be facing? Obviously, we know globally, affordable housing becomes really important. Mixed use developments become really important. We have, a surge in return to office mandates, which is going to once again, kind of either kickstart or reboot some of the build in the commercial space. What do you see as kind of some of the key challenges that you'll face in the next couple of years in the permitting world, or some of the key opportunities that organizations have, to face those?
Again, like one of the things that we're working to ensure every day is that we're meeting our community partners where they are, right? In this ever-changing a world, right? You see a shift to virtual and online applications and things like that. But some people still like the meaningful connections that you make by coming down to City Hall, right? So ensuring that we don't shift too far in one direction and that we're able to provide that service. However, someone would, they could either be at their home in their jammies sipping a cup of coffee, or they can come down to the City Hall and they'll get that same service. And so, one of the things that we're working hard to do is ensure that we're doing that across the board.
I like that, and as someone that works with municipalities, as someone that also goes and gets permits as well, it's definitely nice to have options as far as that goes, because each project is a little unique. Each element that you navigate is a little unique. And so it's important to have that option, that flexibility. One of the things, DJ, that I think, has really been impactful that your organization does, and something that we've seen with a few other municipalities, but something that I'd like to see more widely adopted is, your X team process, and really what that means for not only the city, but for the developer associated with it. Maybe you could highlight, to the listeners here, what that process is and kind of the value that it brings to organizations that are working with City of Fort Worth.
Yes, thank you, Tanyan. So the X team is designed to provide a turnkey plan review for projects, for commercial projects of a large caliber that come into the city of Fort Worth. So basically, we put all the design professionals as well as the plans reviewers, including folks from the water department, the fire department, transportation, public works, planners from each group in the room to ensure that we're reviewing the development real time and providing real time feedback. The goal of that group is to have the applicant leave with a permit in hand. No matter how many revisions we have to do, we do them on the spot, via red lines and special software that we use to get it done.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, as many folks listening know, sometimes big complex projects and otherwise can take, many, many months to get through the permitting process, just because of the complexity that is required to make those safe and support the community. So I think programs like the X team, expedited joint reviews and otherwise are really, really critical to support an efficient development life cycle for a city. Obviously we've talked a lot about what the municipal government group, the internal teams at City of Fort Worth and local municipalities do to make the experience better for the community. How do joint organizations like Athenian work with groups like City of Fort Worth, outside engineers and otherwise, to really drive a meaningful positive impact for the community? How do you see public and private working together to continue to drive success here?
Well, I think, and again, I'm very thankful for Athenian Group and your involvement with the City of Fort Worth. But I think we can continue to build upon our current success and drive meaningful impact by just staying attuned to industry standards, technological advancements, and evolving customer needs.
Well, DJ, we appreciate you coming on today. We appreciate you talking about, the impact that being proactive, being customer focused, really trying to drive efficiency has meant for the city of Fort Worth. For those of you that don't know this, in addition to being, the fastest growing city, there's also a record number of permits going through every year that DJ and team are processing. And, that's a testament to the work that you've committed to lead. That's a testament to, what David Cook and the city leadership, as well as Maddie Parker and the elected officials have committed to. And, to groups that have worked in partnership with you, like the Development Advisory Committee, the Real Estate Council, and others that really help drive. So, we appreciate you coming on today. We appreciate you sharing your wisdom. The group will hear from other municipal development leaders around the country, and I think you've set a great stage for what's to come. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanyan.
All right. That was a great interview with DJ Harrell from City of Fort Worth. And now we're excited to welcome on our president and CEO, Bobby Dixon. Bobby, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm great, Tanyan. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have the podcast back. It's good to have the roundtables. For those of you who don't know, it's been a couple of years since we had our Wise Counsel Weekly series that features industry leaders, innovators, and really great collaborators. And so we're excited to bring that back. Our featured series to start Q1 this year is on municipal development and some of the challenges faced there, as well as kind of municipal change. Bobby, obviously, as our CEO, you've helped the organization through a lot of change. We've worked together with a lot of strategic partners and otherwise. One of the things that DJ highlighted was how important the public-private partnership type entities are, and those relationships just in this constantly evolving world. Maybe you can give us a little perspective just on how you see the importance of those partnerships between municipalities and strategic partners, and even within strategic partners, on driving the greater good for the public.
Sure. I think the essence of all um, communities, right, is creating an ecosystem where you've sort of got value added parties that contribute in one way or another. So when you think about municipalities and professional services firms, in our case, it's consulting firms, right, and the residents on the other side, Tane, it's this ecosystem of excellence where we can enable in this case, the municipality, to better service its residents, right? Through some of the things that we do, enabling technology, communicating on behalf of the municipality, to its residents, establishing process efficiency and capabilities within their processes, right, that allow them to deliver things in a more robust way. In the case of the partnership that we have with the city of Fort Worth, right, redefining the way a city engages its residents, the way the city's employees come to work, how they work, what the workplace environment looks like from an aesthetic standpoint, from a functionality standpoint. So it is just this ecosystem of excellence, Tanyan, that I think makes the world go around in this case, and we're happy to play our part.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and I think I like the ecosystem of excellence, term and thought process, because in a natural transition to what's happening in our world today, right? There's a lot of focus on policy to reduce spending and policy on efficiency and otherwise. I think the shift, and one of the things we heard from DJ is a shift from, hey, here's some recommendations, go figure it out, to working together collaboratively to find solutions to be effective. Maybe you can talk about, as a firm that specializes in helping drive process improvement and end-to-end results, what are some value props that organizations and municipalities can look for from consulting firms in this new world, right? It's not a here's a report, good luck solving that solution. It's now very much end-to-end solutions. Maybe talk us through how you see that happening in that partnership going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an evolution. Anyone familiar with sort of consulting, right? You sort of point-to-point strategy formulation and execution on one side, process reengineering, right? In the middle, leverage technology and systems come on the back end, and then people, working throughout that chain. And so typically, right, and historically, you had, firms that would focus only on the strategy piece, right, and those that focus only on the process piece, and those focus largely on the leverage systems integrations. And so, in the future, right, I think the ability to, as you mentioned, Tanya, and this is one of the distinguishing points that I like to speak about in terms of Athenian, right, is we shoulder up with our clients, right, and it's not just, here's a case study, go execute against it, right? It's our people will be right there with you, as we deploy a strategy, as we go after process efficiencies, and in the case of technology, as we unlock that, right, and enable it, whether it be monetizing the asset that you bought, bringing change management, to the table, and in making sure that the people within the municipality are properly using, the new system, whatever the case may be. It's a differentiating point, right, for us.
For sure. Yeah. And I think, one of the things that DJ mentioned was just the amount of volume of information that his team is processing, and, their day-to-day work, and having the ability to work with a partner that can come in with a third party educated perspective and have a little more bandwidth to look at the more holistic model, something that's hugely value add going forward. So, Bobby, we appreciate having you on this week. We'll have you on in the next couple episodes. For our listeners out there, our series is going to continue with a new episode coming in March that will feature another municipal leader in development and community development, and that'll happen kind of later in March. As we finish our municipal development series in March and April, we'll also be gearing up for a new series on higher ed and higher ed change management practices. We'll be featuring Tim Woods, who's our director of higher ed in the business transformation practice, as well as some featured guests from higher ed institutions around the country. So We appreciate you tuning in today. We hope you found this insightful. And if there are topics or guests that you think we should bring on to help spread the information, share the wealth, please let us know. So we'll look forward to talking to you soon.